Let's talk about Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams, this entire contract situation. Right now, it's some drama that's going on in LA. The Rams, they want to keep Matthew Stafford, but they don't want to pay him $50 million every single season over the next 2 to 3 years. And rightfully so for the Rams. They're worried about his age and his injury history. Matthew Stafford, on the other hand, he wants to get paid $50 million. He wants to be one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL, and rightfully so. He does have 2 years remaining on his contract. He'll be making $27 million in 2024. That's $4 million guaranteed. 2025, $31 million. There is no guarantees on that year of the deal. So basically, he wants to rip up that contract, throw it out the window, and basically say, hey, usher in a brand new deal. I want to be in the same conversation with quarterbacks like Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, and Josh Allen. Now, Dak Prescott is making a lot of money. I don't see another quarterback matching that contract for the foreseeable future because that's an insane contract. And not to say that Matthew Stafford wants to be paid $55 to $60 million. He just wants to be paid as a top 5 quarterback, and rightfully so. Look at what Matthew Stafford has done since he has joined the Los Angeles Rams. His first year, 41 passing touchdowns, 17 interceptions, 4,886 passing yards, 17 games played. They won a Super Bowl in their first year with Matthew Stafford. That is how amazing he was that first year with the Rams. When they made the trade to basically trade Jared Goff to the Lions in a first-round pick, and they bring over Matthew Stafford. Remember when the general manager came out and Sean McVay was basically saying, hey, F those picks, we're all in right now. They had a super team. It was Odell Beckham, Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford. You still had Andrew Whitworth on the offensive line, Von Miller, Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey. That defense had so much talent, it got Brandon Staley a head coaching job. That is how stacked that defense was. But since then, Matthew Stafford has taken a step back. Even though I do believe that they should pay him and they will pay him, in my opinion, what we saw in 2022 was a bit concerning. 10 passing touchdowns to 8 interceptions. He only played in 9 games for 2,087 passing yards. Now, part of it, Super Bowl hangover, but the offensive line was abysmal. They could not protect Matthew Stafford. And his season got ended early because of a back injury. But the year after that, he bounced back in a huge way in 2023. 24 passing touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 3,965 passing yards, and they made the playoffs. They did go one and done against the Detroit Lions, but it was still a very good year for the Rams. And remember this, they were supposed to be a rebuilding team. That was not the case with Matthew Stafford because he has been so amazing. And the season we just moved off of in 2024, Matthew Stafford, 20 passing touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 3,762 passing yards. So sure, the passing touchdowns have gotten lower every single year, but he still has that great arm talent. He is still able to go out there and basically uplift the Rams to the next level. I understand both sides. Matthew Stafford is amazing. One of the best quarterbacks that you can have right now. No, I'm not saying that he's Patrick Mahomes. I'm not saying that he's Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen, but he is still amazing in this system. And he got this team to the playoffs. Not only just that, look at what the Eagles did to teams this season. And look at what they did to teams in the postseason. They destroyed the Kansas City Chiefs. They went out there and they beat the hell out the Green Bay Packers. The game was close early on, but Jordan Love had 3 interceptions in that matchup. And Jaden Daniels did have a very good game, but it was an okay game by his amazing standards. They blew the Commanders out. It was just one team in the postseason that gave the Eagles a lot of problems, and that was the Los Angeles Rams. Matthew Stafford in that matchup, 26 of 44, 324 passing yards in the snow, 2 passing touchdowns. Did get sacked 5 times. The offensive line did him little to no favors in that matchup. But once again, the Eagles, they had the best front 7 in football this season. This was the only team that gave them problems in the postseason, and you lost that game by 6 points. Matthew Stafford had a crucial fumble, and Kyron Williams had a crucial fumble. If it wasn't for those turnovers, we're talking about a different situation right here with the Rams. If the Rams would have went out there and made the NFC Championship game, or hell, even the Super Bowl, Matthew Stafford would have easily asked for $55 million per season. I do believe that. because we're talking about the Rams going out there and possibly being the biggest dark horse in the NFL this previous season. As long as you have Matthew Stafford, you're going to be in a great situation. So pay him over the next 2 to 3 years. The injury history, he's played through injuries before. We saw this with the Lions. We saw this early on with the Rams. When he missed that year where he only played 9 games, your offensive line was completely terrible from tackle to tackle. But you brought in the right pieces because a general manager, he can draft, and Sean McVay is a great talent evaluator, and he can get the most out of the talent that he's coaching. But you look at Stafford, 37 years old. He's not going to play for too much longer. So you need to squeeze this window of opportunity. Go out there and try to get the most out of this roster that you have. You're already going to move on from Cooper Kupp. Now, Colin Cowherd did come out. He's an analyst on Fox, and I do respect his work. He said a lot of things I really don't agree with. He was saying that the Rams are upset about Matthew Stafford and his wife, how she's coming out, she's saying stuff about the team, because he made a comment to her one night when he was at home. He was frustrated. He could not get along with the wide receivers. And as soon as he said that, when Cooper Kupp went down, Puka Nacua comes out of nowhere, one of those young kids who he struggled to get along with in training camp. And I'm just using him for an example because he was a rookie. He comes out. He's already one of the best wide receivers in the league. Not just one of the best wide receivers on the Rams. He's phenomenal. Now, give Puka a lot of credit, but I look at Sean McVay. Sean McVay is just a great offensive coach, just a great coach in general. So that's why they're moving off of Cooper Kupp right now. And then you have the information with Cooper Kupp to where the Rams, they did not want Cooper Kupp to come out and basically say, hey, I'm getting traded. The Rams wanted to work on that deal behind the scenes. If you guys remember, 2 to 3 months ago, earlier in the year, before the trade deadline, there was reports about Cooper Kupp being on the trade market. Then Sean McVay comes out after Thursday Night Football and he says, I want to have him back. We're going to finish the season with Cooper Kupp. Only for them to come out a week later after they just lost against the Philadelphia Eagles to basically say, hey, Cooper Kupp, we're done with this, man. It's time to move on. It's time for you to go to a different team. We have younger wide receivers that are cheaper and they're going to be better off because you won't be on the field as much. You're not going to be in the field to take up those snaps. We need to use DeMarcus Robinson. We need to use Tutu Atwell more. We have Puka Nacua, who is still in his rookie deal. We're going to have to pay him sooner than later. We can't exercise that fifth-year option because he wasn't a first-round pick, so we have to pay him sooner than later. And we're not going to pay Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and Puka Nacua. The Rams are so excited to move on from Cooper Kupp, and it's really sad because Cooper Kupp was great when they won that Super Bowl. Triple Crown champion, was amazing in the Super Bowl, won Super Bowl MVP, but he hasn't been the same wide receiver since then because of the injuries, and he has slowed down. Now, he can still be a top wide receiver for some teams in this league, but I look at Cooper Kupp, he will never be the same wide receiver that he was in that first season with Matthew Stafford, and that's okay. But it is time for them to move on from Cooper Kupp. This is a man that's been dealing with a lot of injuries in the past, and he's just not the true number one anymore. It's Puka Nacua. And even down the stretch, DeMarcus Robinson, he got more looks on the field than Cooper Kupp at times. That's very worrisome if you are a Cooper Kupp fan. But back to Matthew Stafford. Even though all those reports came out about them being upset with him and his wife, they're tired of him, this man has still won your Super Bowl. You still went to the postseason 3 times. You only missed the playoffs once. And that was in his second year, and he missed majority of the season dealing with an injury. When he is healthy, you are a playoff contending team every single year. And with this defense getting better, you're going to be a dark horse Super Bowl contender for the foreseeable future as long as Matthew Stafford is on the field. So I believe paying him over the next 2 to 3 years, it's not going to hurt the Rams. Go out there, move on from Cooper Kupp, and they're willing to pay majority of his salary anyway. Move on from Cooper Kupp, bring in another wide receiver in the 3rd or 4th round, and then you could draft your quarterback in the 2nd or 3rd round if you're worried about Matthew Stafford aging out. And that's the biggest question here. With his stats declining every single year, will this be the year that Matthew Stafford falls off a cliff? I don't believe so. I still think that he can go out there and he can carry a team on his back, not every single week like how he did with the Lions. But he can definitely get the most out of the wide receivers around him. You have to give him offensive line protection. And I look at Sean McVay. He's never been wrong on a quarterback before. So if he's in favor of moving on from Matthew Stafford, I would trust him. But at the same time, I'll be side-eyeing Sean McVay because I look at the quarterback options. There's a lot of rumors about Aaron Rodgers. If you're upset about Matthew Stafford and his wife coming out and saying things, and more so his wife than Matthew Stafford because he's very quiet, he's very private. It's his wife. If you're upset about her, Imagine how you would be with Aaron Rodgers every single week showing up on the Pat McAfee show. So I don't see this Aaron Rodgers pipe dream working out. I don't think that Aaron Rodgers comes over to the Rams and they'll be very excited to bring him over. I look at Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo got the fit a year within this system. He missed the first 4 games. He was suspended because of a PED issue. But I believe Jimmy Garoppolo right now is a better fit for this system than Aaron Rodgers if you move on from Matthew Stafford. Now, if the Giants are willing to go out there and trade the 3rd overall pick to bring in Matthew Stafford, you take that deal. And then you can move up and possibly draft a quarterback like Cam Ward. But that's just all draft talk at this point. This is a Rams team. Even though they're young, they are a Super Bowl contender in their division. This is the same regime that came out many years ago and they said, hey, F those picks, we're going all in. And that's what they did. So I find it very hard to believe that Sean McVay and this general manager would come out and basically say, you know what, Matthew Stafford, it's been real. We're going to trade you for a 2nd round pick. We'll trade you for a 3rd round pick. We'll see you later. Then your quarterback plan is Aaron Rodgers. Your quarterback plan is Jimmy Garoppolo. You're not going to win a Super Bowl with either one of those quarterbacks. And I'm being nice here. Matthew Stafford, even at the age of 37, is better than Aaron Rodgers right now, and he's better than Jimmy Garoppolo for sure. And I look at the Giants situation. I don't even know if Matthew Stafford even want to go to the Giants for the market, but the market means little to nothing when your team is terrible. The New York Giants have been horrible with Brian Dable and Joe Shane. And I find it hard to believe that they're going to give up a 1st round pick to bring in a quarterback that's 37 years old. We look at the Las Vegas Raiders. Do they want to bring in Matthew Stafford? I will say this, though, about this situation before I let you guys go. The Rams are playing a dangerous game because if a team comes out and they're desperate enough and they say, we'll give Matthew Stafford $55 million, you may have to go out there and basically match that offer. Because I do believe the Giants or the Raiders, they would be desperate enough to go out there and make that type of decision. The Steelers, I don't see that happening. The Steelers, they're very cheap. Historically, they don't go out there and make trades like this. The last big trade that they made was with the Miami Dolphins when they traded the 1st round pick to bring in Micah Fitzpatrick. They're a very conservative franchise, but a franchise like the Giants, Brian Dable, Joe Shane, they're trying to save their jobs. So I would see them possibly going out there and doing something drastic like that. But at the same time, that 1st round pick, I could see Mara, the owner, coming in and saying, you know what, this is too much. We're not going to do that. So you're not going to get a 1st round pick for Matthew Stafford. But crazier things have happened. But when I look at this roster with Stafford on there, you have Kyron Williams, who is a very good running back. He just has to do a better job of taking care of the football. He had 14 rushing touchdowns this season, 1,299 rushing yards, average 4 yards a carry. Blake Corum, I do believe one day, if the fumbles continue to be a problem with Kyron Williams, they're going to sub him out for Blake Corum. But Kyron Williams is still one of the better running backs to have in this league. Puka Nacua, straight up beast. I love his game. Demarcus Robinson, 505 receiving yards, 7 receiving touchdowns. He averaged 16 yards a catch. You have Tutu Atwell, who is a very good deep threat, 562 receiving yards on the year, averaged 14 yards a catch. And this is without Cooper Kupp because they're going to move on from him. That has already been confirmed from both sides. The offensive line, Alaric Jackson, left tackle position, very good. Steve Avila, left guard, one of the best interior linemen that you can have. Kevin Dotson, a very good right guard. You have Rob Havenstein at the right tackle position. Very good players. I look at their defense. Braden Fisk, rookie, was a top edge rusher this year with the Rams. Kobe Turner is a top defensive tackle to have. Byron Young can get to the passer at a consistent rate, 7.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble. So you have very good players. Jared Verse, defensive rookie of the year, only had 4.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, but had one of the highest pressure rates for any player at his position this season. The Rams, they need secondary help. Go out there, draft a cornerback in the 1st round, running back with Matthew Stafford. And I do believe a deal, 2 years, $100 million, that should be enough for Matthew Stafford to stick around. After the 1st year, it doesn't work out, roll into a signing bonus, and then you could possibly move on from a guy like Matt Stafford. You will eventually have to go out there and draft your quarterback and try to replace Matthew Stafford within the next 3 to 4 years. I don't believe that this is a draft to do so. But I look at Sean McVay. If it's a coach that could take a quarterback and that can make them be a star in this league, it would be Sean McVay. Look at Jared Goff before Sean McVay got here to the Rams when they were still in St. Louis. Jeff Fisher, one of the worst head coaches I've ever seen. But Jared Goff looked completely terrible his rookie season, sophomore year. You saw the progression every single year. It was better, it was better, it was better with the Rams. But they hit their head in the ceiling in the Super Bowl. And Sean McVay, he saw that. He said, it's time to move on. Let's go out there and let's get me a veteran with a huge arm that can make some of the throws that Jared Goff can make, and we'll be okay. And when I look at both sides there with the Lions and the Rams, the Lions, they won that trade because they're a very good contender every single year in the NFC since then. And the Rams, you won the trade because you won the Super Bowl straight out the gate. So that's one of the rare trades you could look back and say both teams, they got what they wanted. And I do believe the Lions will win the Super Bowl within the next 4 to 5 years. But let me know in the comment section below, what should the Rams do? Should they hold on to Matthew Stafford or should they let him go? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, we want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless.